I'm talking with Ollin Sykes of Sykes and Company PA, and today we're talking about the components of a pharmacy loan package. So, Ollin, tell me a little bit more about what goes into a pharmacy loan package and how to make sure I'm set up to get the best loan.
Be happy to, Rachel. This is an issue we're involved in literally on a daily basis. In fact, this morning I'm involved in a situation, and um, when pharmacies are looking either to expand an existing location or to organically grow from another location or two they have, they typically go to the specialty pharmacy lenders that are out there that deal with pharmacies if they've done their homework. And in doing that, of course, Live Oak Bank is key is a key player in that particular industry, and they and others as well will ask for certain pieces of information, including essentially an executive summary, personal information, and business information to get an overall grasp of where the pharmacy has been, where the individuals or proprietors are currently. And the executive summary obviously discusses and explains what type of loan and why they're looking for it. It typically contains enough information for the lender to understand why they're requesting, what they're planning on doing, what their plans are. It obviously includes the management resumes of the key personnel. Typically, will also include prescription count summaries from their existing stores. It isn't necessarily a business plan per se. It's just an overall summary of what a particular pharmacist may be planning on doing in a situation. And when you take you add the personal financial information on top of that, which obviously includes an updated personal financial statement, and if there's SBA involvement in it, there's certain government regulatory information that's required that's pretty standard. And obviously, it includes prior tax returns of the individuals, as well as the stores that currently the store operates within whatever framework they operate within. But that's the essential information that is included. And I'd be happy to expand on that further if you'd like.
Well, first, that sounds like a lot of information, so I'm curious to hear how long does it generally take someone to pull that together, and can they get help with it?
Well, yeah, it's a great question. In fact, I'm working on one right before you called me this morning, and I received the email request from the banker overnight. I'm getting the approval from the client to this. In this particular case, this is a backfill situation where a regional pharmacy is merging up with another pharmacy, and the PIC in a particular pharmacy is partnering with another player who happens to be my client and wants to put a store right beside the existing store where he used to work. And we have essentially the information pretty much at hand on the existing pharmacy, and of course the individuals that are involved are getting together their information. But I would suspect by the end of the day we will have what we need to submit, at least on an overall executive basis, to the bank for their review and comment before we go to the next step of that process. But if you've got things electronically stored, if your accountant has things in the cloud, as we do, we got all information stored for the last 10 years, so we can put our hands on any kind of historical information very quickly, whether it be tax returns and or financial statements for prior years and or current years. And again, the need for having current year interim information, because the interim information is required in this instant case. But it doesn't take long to pull this stuff together if you got your ducks in a row.
What if I don't? What if I'm disorganized and I'm just starting to work with an accountant? How long should I expect it's going to take?
That's kind of an open-ended question, one that really doesn't have a finite answer. It just really depends on how good or bad your information or shape it's in. We typically can get hold of somebody's QuickBook files electronically to take a look at what shape their information is in and very quickly ascertain what has to be done to bring them current, so that there is current interim information available, and procure again the financial statements and tax returns they have from either themselves or from their CPA they currently are using. But if the accounting system is up to date, and that's a big if it's up to date, it shouldn't take that long to pull this initial information together.
And what are some of the most important pieces of this information? I mean, it sounds like it's all important, but are there a couple critical pieces in this package?
Yeah, that's a really an excellent question as well. Is that the key thing the banks are looking for is the ability or the history of your cash flow operations. And again, I'm looking at a situation where they're expanding, not an organically grown new pharmacy. I'm looking at one store going to two. In this case here, the earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation is really most critical, and that's commonly referred to as EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, because it provides the cash flow capability that the pharmacist has and the ability to pay back loans, and gives some that along with the balance sheet information gives debt coverage information that the banks are really interested in seeing. How good their cash flow has been, how strong it is, whether they can fund any kind of new debt that comes on the balance sheet for the purchase or for the upfits that are necessary in an organically grown situation where there's already an existing pharmacy in place. But and obviously script logs, the strength of the owners is not particularly critical. Their credit rating is very important in this case. They want a credit rating, a FICO rating of at least 700 preferably. They don't want to have to have been through bankruptcy, clearly. That's very critical. But those are some big pieces of the puzzle that need to be in place.
So for a pharmacy owner, maybe this is their first expansion and their first loan package. What should they expect after they get the package to the bank?
They should expect, if the information is complete, a reasonably quick response, at least initially, to this information. And that would be sometime inside of a week, 10 days. They should get some type of initial callback, email response and a general indication that they have what they need in order to make a reasonable credit decision based on certain assumptions and certain facts. And in most cases, these banks are going to be visiting the pharmacy location in play to make sure that it checks out demographically the way they want to see it. But it's usually a pretty quick process, and then once that initial process is provided, they will typically lay out a term loan type of an agreement and commitment. And that's to be studied by you as the recipient, obviously. And once you're in concurrence with there, usually you can close these loans in 6 to 8 weeks if things are in order. So it's about a 2-month process in its entirety. If real estate is involved, sometimes it involves appraisals, and that can carry things out a little bit longer. But they happen reasonably quickly.
Tell me a little bit about, are there benefits that people don't know about to using an accountant that focuses on pharmacies and using a bank that focuses on pharmacies when pursuing a loan?
Well, yeah, there's a couple really key issues there. In that, number one, if banks don't, a general regional local bank typically doesn't do pharmacy kind of packages, in that they don't understand pharmacies. And I highly recommend that a pharmacist use the national resources that are available from NCPA, from the groups like Pharmacy Development Services and others that are out there, or from the wholesalers like Cardinal, McKesson, Amerisource. Those are probably the 3 largest for-profit wholesalers that are out there in the country. H.D. Smith is another one. But all these wholesalers have contacts in the industry, but there are relatively few number of players. And you, inside of a very short period of time, doing a little bit of due diligence, can figure out who those major players are, and go to them very quickly. And you want somebody who's doing on the banking side that does this and pretty much nothing but this all the time, so that they understand what pharmacist issues are, because they are somewhat different than other regular retail situations. And then you're from an accounting perspective, you need somebody who does this kind of thing on an ongoing basis, that understands what information is going to be needed, and understands the requirements from these pharmacy lenders. And if you don't, you're working at a distinct disadvantage. There's no question about it. And that's the kind of thing that we do on a daily basis here at Sykes & Company.
That's great. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk with us this morning, Ollin.
You're certainly welcome, Rachel. Have a good day.